This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by exclusive multi-state cannabis operator sponsor Curaleaf, one of the nation's top vertically integrated medical and wellness cannabis operators with 53 local dispensaries, 15 cultivation sites, and 24 processing facilities operating in 14 states. You can learn more about Curaleaf over at curaleaf.com with Curaleaf spelled C-U-R-A-L-E-A-F. That's curaleaf.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Monday, February 3rd, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 878 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We kick off this week's news with a big headline out of California, where MedMen CEO Adam Bierman is CEO no longer, with an announcement dropped late last week that Bierman would be out of the top spot at MedMen as of Saturday, February 1st. Bierman will give up all of his Class A super voting shares and will walk away with just under 5% ownership in the company. MedMen named COO and CTO Ryan Lissick as interim CEO, with Bierman to remain on the board of directors. Bierman was a founder of MedMen, but has faced a lot of criticism over the last few years for things like giving him and his co-founder Andrew Maudlin huge paychecks, as well as majority control of the company through the aforementioned Class A super voting shares, blocking out all other investors. He's also overseen a company that's been hit by constant churning turnover in the executive ranks, as well as scandals over financial shenanigans. And in New York State, a behind-the-scenes lobbying effort to ban home grow. MedMen's stock, which has fallen around 90% over the last year, bounced back 10% after Bierman's resignation was announced. In Vermont, a state House committee voted in favor of a bill that would set up a taxed and regulated sales program. As regular listeners should remember, Vermont passed adult use legalization legislation back in 2018, but did so in a way without a commercial dispensary system. On Friday, the State House Committee on Government Operations cast a unanimous vote of 11-0 in favor of Senate Bill 54, which has already been approved by that legislative body, sending it on to the House Ways and Means Committee, where it needs to slide through before it would hit the Appropriations Committee and then the full House. If ultimately signed into law by Governor Phil Scott, who has indicated a willingness to the creation of a sales program, Senate Bill 54 would set up a 16% sales tax on legal cannabis, which would be sold by licensed businesses. One of the worrying provisions in the law would cap marijuana potency at 30% for flower and concentrates at 60%. THC caps are just bad ideas. So I'll be keeping my fingers crossed that that bit of language gets cut out in the lawmaking process. Swing over to Marijuana Moment for the full read here. Our final top story today is another Marijuana Moment joint, this time by newer writer Matt Saintsing, who is reporting on a yet-to-be-released study out of the University of Iowa that claims that businesses are more profitable and workers happier, more productive, and creative in states with legal medical marijuana. That's all companies, not just cannabis industry firms. The yet-to-be-published study looks at corporate results between 1991 and 2017 and found, quote, a multitude of positive effects, unquote, in the wake of legal medical marijuana legislation passing, including a huge 4.2% jump in the value of companies located in medical states. The stock price of companies in medical marijuana states also jumped up by around the same amount, meaning that legal marijuana makes everyone happier. The workers, the bosses, and the people at the top with all the real money. That helps explain why medical cannabis is one of the higher polling issues around. I'm sure we'll be circling back on this one just as this study is published because its findings are kind of huge. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the nation's top multi-state cannabis operators with 53 local dispensaries, 15 cultivation sites, and 24 processing facilities operating in 14 states. Curaleaf crafts high-quality cannabis products that are uncomplicated and approachable. When you walk into a Curaleaf dispensary, you're not overwhelmed with feigned coolness. You just find well-appointed shelves managed by knowledgeable staff who can help you find the right legal marijuana product that's going to meet your particular need. Curaleaf covers the entire spectrum of legal cannabis, from Curaleaf medical marijuana, Curaleaf hemp, and Yuku craft cannabis, so they have you covered. Swing over to curaleaf.com today, spelled Curaleaf, and find the map to the closest Curaleaf shop to you, because there's no better way to experience the Curaleaf difference than by making a visit yourself. Big thanks to everyone over at Curaleaf for the support that makes this show possible. All right. Time for the Blitz. The Guardian has a great longer-form piece worthy of a full dive in, looking at the growing frustration in Los Angeles, California, over how the city is rolling out its licensed marijuana system, particularly by those involved in the social equity program who have, in many cases, been tied up for years holding real estate while awaiting licensing. Right now, just 6 of the first 200 dispensary licenses given out by the city are held by Black entrepreneurs, with the vast majority being held by white people. That's a problem in a city where Black people have long borne the brunt of the government's war on marijuana. Read this one. Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo is proposing that her state pass legislation this year that would set up a taxed and regulated marijuana sales program with private contractors running government-owned stores. The system would rely on private cultivation companies and processors and is projected to bring in $35 million in sales in the first year up. As Jeff Smith over Marijuana Business Daily has it, though, the chances of it passing are on the slimmer side, even as neighboring Massachusetts gobbles up tax revenue from Rhode Island residents driving over the border. You can pop over to Marijuana Business Daily for more here if you need it. The National Post is reporting that the Canadian government is disappointed in how much legal marijuana tax revenue has been generated, with just $66 million Canadian coming in during the last fiscal year out of the $100 million anticipated. Canada has had a heck of a time in rolling out its legal marijuana laws, with spotty province-to-province implementation, meaning low store counts, patient access, and, as we're seeing here, tax revenue. With a happier story than our previous headline, we have Zach Harris over at Mary Jane picking up on news out of Detroit, Michigan, that a professional soccer team has signed on a medical marijuana company as a sponsor, granting the Pleasant Trees Cannabis Company naming rights to its practice facility and ad placement on jerseys. The Detroit City Football Club, which competes in the National Independent Soccer Association, just announced the deal, with team co-owner Sean Mann saying in a press release, quote, "We're excited to be partnering up with a leader in a growing industry here in Michigan, especially one that is committed to the community," unquote. This is something we've seen before, as last year the professional men's soccer team, the Las Vegas Lights, also took on a cannabis company sponsor. More of this, please. If beer companies can run the game on sports sponsorships, there's zero reasons why cannabis companies shouldn't belly up for a spot at the bar. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot spoke out on Friday about the need for her city to have legally licensed commercial spaces where people can consume cannabis, saying, quote, "We've got to give people a safe place to consume. It's got to be a part of the regulatory rollout. While certainly we'll continue to be working with the state to address this issue, but we're gonna have to move before the state because we may not get something from the state until the end of the legislative session, which is at the end of May. In my mind, that's too long to wait," unquote. Bringing home another headline for Marijuana Moment is Kyle Yeager with a story about a new Gallup poll finding that people with progressive politics are 6 times more likely to consume cannabis than conservatives, with 25% of self-identified liberals admitting to using marijuana against just 4% of conservatives. Meanwhile, moderates came in at 12%. Tom Angel, writing over at Forbes, closes out the day with a story about Vermont Senator and Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders and his new pledge to legalize marijuana in all 50 states via executive order on his first day in office, should he be elected. Senator Sanders made the pledge during a rally in Iowa ahead of this week's caucuses. As you might expect from the good senator, Sanders said that it was vital that any legalization plan includes social justice provisions like automatic expungement and programs to ensure a diverse industry that's not dominated by white guys with old money. Tom nicely gets into the details of what a President Sanders could actually do in his first day of office, so this is one I'd recommend reading in full. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Curaleaf, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.